Holy crap. It's the full rotor that we all really, truly want to see the progress on. And the guys from Battle Arrow are here to make that next step. And they're already working on the front fenders and how those are supposed to mold in.
We just finished scanning the wheels at all different angles so we get all the clearances when we make the flare.
It looks so cool.
So this is what is straight. This is what it churned out, what it churned in, and then we show you all of them at once.
It's like some Doctor Strange sort of thing.
That thing.
Yeah. All positions at the same time. That's awesome. And so now we know when we make the fender, it can't sit within any of those because that's a possible position of the tire. You can already see has to come out pretty wide. You got the curve. That's it right there. Fine tuning, but you can feel that weight isn't so like scrawny like the car used to look. What he's doing right now is you're seeing what won't be the final version. This is like intermediate steps, but getting the raw goal of this car. The front fender is the hardest part, and we always knew that, but he's chunking through it. So we're trying different things, and it's coming together. So now with the timing of everything, we're gonna work on kind of getting that front fenders. That includes the corners of the hood and the corners of the bumper. It's all like he's got a lot to juggle all at once. One of the biggest problems with this car is that it's extended, and it's extended only in the front. So now we've changed the ratio of things, and it shows. It really does. And then, of course, on top of that, the wheels have to go way up like a race car. And so he's just got a lot of things to juggle where it's like, hey, make it pretty, but by the way, you can't go here. You can't do, no, sorry, no, that's not allowed either. So that is not an easy job. For example, he can't raise anything around the headlight because then the headlight will look weird because the headlight opens and closes and that's stock. He can't modify that, but the headlight needs to be stock, but this has to go all the way up so the tire can go up. Yeah, that's way easier on the eyes.
Alright guys, it's Rich from Battle Arrow. Today we're going to be talking about this plug right here. This is a front right fender for the 4-rotor, Rob Dahm's. Basically this is just straight from the CAD model. So this got machined over about 20 hours of machining, and then this is going to get prepped and a mold made from it, and then we'll be able to get a composite part from that. Okay, so this is like the first stage of the machining. We cut out like these rough shapes, basically like a puzzle, and then these go through a rough cut and a finishing cut. You can see here this is the other side. Part of it getting machined right now. Once this is done and these are done, then we'll put it all together and we'll have the full plug.
Rob, you may ask, how do you work on all of these different cars and juggle every single one of them, and what is going on with all of them? Doesn't it seem like that's absolute chaos? It absolutely is. And I will tell you that when it comes to stuff like this, the only reason I'm capable of being this type of guy is because I'm able to focus and kind of get into that flow state, if you want to call it, or that zone. And that is what is so critical to me, is both my mental and physical health. And that's why I love working with Athletic Greens. Not only does it have 75 different vitamins and minerals and enzymes and all those sort of things, but it's also made in New Zealand. And so I'm surprised it doesn't have any kiwis in it. I get it, bad pun. Oh my God. I was already taking multivitamin. I was trying wheatgrass. I was doing all these different things, focusing on all these different aspects, just like focusing on all these different cars in the shop. In that case, simplifies it. One of the coolest things about working with brands like this is that they send you their products. That was great timing because I am almost out of my previous batch. Of course, have the same insane number of ingredients. You can be all fancy and proper with the stuff that they provide, but I also can be quick and to the point with my own water. Really straightforward. Mix it up. And like I said, anybody that's ever taken wheatgrass in the past, it doesn't have 75 vitamins in it, but it looks reminiscent to it. You ever work out and then go and eat fast food right after? It doesn't hit the same as if you eat really clean and healthy, like a protein shake or chicken and broccoli. It just feels different. And that's exactly what this feels like, where I drink this and I just feel better. I don't know how to explain it like that. It's just, you just feel more ready. You don't feel so sluggish, and that's a personal experience. That's my honest opinion. So if you're ready to get your greens, go to athleticgreens.com/RobDahm for a special offer. That's athleticgreens.com/RobDahm. Get the hand model action going on. What can I say more than the guys here have already said with this beautiful piece of art? I can talk about it, but look at it. That is the real deal. That is the beginning of the car's ultimate vision. This isn't partially from something. This is truly designed from these guys from zero. Just whatever I was kind of blabbing on about, this is the result of that, and they have nailed it perfectly. What's fascinating about this process, and it blew my mind, is that you have to create a positive to create a negative to create a positive. What you're seeing here is basically like as if you found a car and you're like, hey, I love your Fender, I'm gonna copy it. If you saw this car sitting in a parking lot, you could make a mold off of it to then recreate it. Well, in this case, they're making a mold of the thing that doesn't exist to then make the next mold to then make parts off it. So it's a 3-step process, and that blew my mind. I thought there was a negative first, but it's a positive. You can see exactly what the shape will look like on the car. Just wait till you see what it's gonna be made out of. But this is the entire front fender for the passenger side. The lines are meant to connect to the wider front bumper. You know, the front bumper is now gonna have an even more aggressive look, handling the air right, having the wider tires, having the room for the tire to articulate fully and turn. As you know, my solution to that isn't nearly this beautiful. My solution is to just sawzall a half moon shape right there and keep driving. But this is actually meant to hold the wheel as we turn. Extreme angles, all-wheel drive, wide-ass 295s, hidden within such a beautiful front fender. On top of that, this is, like I was saying off camera just a second ago, before we rolled the camera, this is one of the most amazing things that Geo designed, is that there are 2 million, maybe even 2 billion ways to do this and make this so ugly, gaudy, cheesy, and yet he nailed the idea of showing a little rotor in the fender. Normally they're like flat and they're just a rotor shape and it's cut out. This is more of just a smooth integration and just a way for the airflow to come out of the fender. Whether it's deducting through the engine bay or in this side's case, this is actually going to be the exhaust. And I think I'll custom machine a piece that fits into there that's going to incorporate both the exhaust pipes but also the wastegate pipes as well. So this will not only look cool and pay homage to the engine that's inside of the car, but also just look like an OEM vehicle. That's at least my hope. I mean, he's done the hard work. I've got to follow up and carry that on. You can't tell. I guess that's a great example of good design. Is you can't tell that this is raised this much on the body. And again, that's to hold more of the tire, but just to keep a nice sweeping flow. One of my number one rules about this, and they nailed this better, I think, than any other company ever could have, is no straight lines. I did not want a single straight line on the car. The RX-7 is one of the most timeless, beautiful bodies, and this is it on steroids. You don't start cutting corners and then just making a straight line because, oh, you know, I need it wider. All curved.
Holy you're ready.
Just to point out, he's been here for the last half hour. We've been talking about business and plans and all that, and he goes, "I got a surprise for you," and we're all thinking it's like pho.
Yeah.
Not
food or something.
Not the Fender. Oh my! Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is that heavy?
It's so heavy. No.
Oh my god.
Holy crap! It's real carbon. I can't believe it. Like to see it start out as like a program, just a video game basically, and it's a real thing.
Is it too soon to ask?
We gotta.
Yeah.
It's so light. This is the most custom, unique, beautiful, perfect thing I've seen. There were a billion ways that could have come out so trashy. Less is more. This thing's just.
R.I.P. this Fender.
I say I already cut off half of it.
Yeah, no, that's gotta stay the way it is right now.
In comparison.
Compared. 210.
No.
7 pounds. Now, remember, Isaiah has cut most of this other Fender off. Let's see how much, what's left of this other Fender. So even with half of a Fender, it's, 17 pounds? And look at how thick the bondo was that was right here. There was a whole chunk that he cut off, and we've cut these Fenders 20 times to get the tires to fit. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Whoa.
Oh my God. Right there.
I wish we didn't have it in the corner.
I know. I was so worried about making this look right because this is a functional line. This is because the tire can bounce up while you're turning, and so the tire can be here, not at ride height, but when we want this thing to hit ramps and stuff. It's just got to do that, and it somehow just came out so nice. And one of the things I was visioning was just this nice like spiral thing, and Gio did such a good job, and the end result's even sexier. The carbon does such a beautiful job at capturing those important but subtle lines. I can't stress enough. It is a million times harder to make something smooth and make something simple than it is to make something complex. A million times harder. This is infinitely harder because there aren't jagged edges, there aren't weird things. It looks like there's almost nothing, and yet it's aesthetic, it's beautiful. That takes a lot of work.
I'm gonna kiss you. Come here.
You're the best, dude. Come here, man.
Fucking sick. I didn't want to put this in on the engine stand because this is a nice table. I can unbox a lot of things on this really nice table that my good friend built for me. So the only thing that was holding me back from putting this onto the engine stand was this is such a weird, like, there's metric but American bolts, and it's just the thread doesn't line up. It's like this thing is like a M7 type thing, but the bolts didn't go in there perfectly fine.
I want to apologize to all of my friends from England because I made a very erroneous statement on Instagram, and I was like, it blows my mind that the British use imperial units. Like, I thought that would all be metric. Imperial is straight up like England. That is straight up, the UK is imperial. We're just under their umbrella. So I got tons of guys from the UK saying, we are imperial. That's a public apology. It was the dumbest thing I've said in a long time, last 2 weeks.
Well, anyways, that caused a lot of confusion on getting this thing on the engine stand because we don't want to put bolts in there. This thing is too expensive to strip out of bolts because, I mean, what if we go to put it in and it's stripped and it doesn't hold? And so whatever. I was scared to do that, so I said, here's all the bolts within that size rod. You figure it out and you do that. So he cleaned up the threads for me. They must have just been, they were just kind of stripped or kind of hard.
Somebody somewhere, I mean, those are the chassis bolts. Those are the ones that connect the engine. I mean, the engine is the chassis, right? Those are bolts. We took like a bore scope and we're looking at the threads. And yeah, somebody at some point had gotten a little creative with those. We didn't even take any material out. We just simply formed the front of the thread again, just cleaned that up. The rest of the thread was perfectly fine.
So now I could put it on my $100 engine stand. You gotta kind of see how these guys all vibe out together. Hopefully it fits like this. Weird things on this little engine stand thing is never really fun because always does some weird things. So I like to just kind of get them in there, let them vibe, and then I could center the actual weight of the engine amongst this. And this is weird because these heads are so tall. We need to be able to put this on the engine stand because if we do have to take it apart and take the heads off, we need to be able to take them apart separately from the block. And that's actually pretty center of the engine. Because the bottom of it doesn't weigh as much as the top of it does. Yeah, these are all going in there pretty smooth. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. This was way smoother than it was.
While he's doing that, I'm doing something that will just kind of be thrown into this part of this video because it's not related to a lot of other things, but we've been borrowing parts in this shop for one car to get the other car working for a long time. And thankfully, now with all the shop cars running, this is the last of the borrowing things left in the shop. These 3 injectors are actually all secondary injectors for the 4-rotor. I can't finish the 4-rotor without having these injectors back on it. So it's finally time to take these off of the 3-rotor, get it its own 2600 injectors. The wire is all nice and clean. There's my mil-spec wiring in action.
Held up pretty good.
Yeah, and it's definitely not going to leak. Put that under there. Not on the wires. So these are 2600s, and they're finally time to go back onto the 4-rotor, and I can show you guys that whole harness, and obviously we're going back hardcore 4-rotor. So you guys are excited, I'm excited. This is action.
You gotta put that pin in there so that way the thing doesn't rotate. And we are,
How do you feel about this over here? This is slightly better built than the other ones.
It's the last one I built.
You're getting better. I hope the next one is like beast.
Well, I have a 0% failure rate, so we're good.
I can't deny you that one.
So this is coming handy again. It is a little bit of a pain in the ass because it's warped a little bit. We're still in like development of every stage. My famous.
These ones are way thicker, so I like that.
We're good. That part's fine, but now we'll see if we can handle the weight of this.
it's meant for like V8s and stuff. I got the bigger one for this one.
Okay.
So this is like the 1200 pound one.
I think we're safe.
I think so small actually. But
It
that's
is.
the intake manifold on there, the actual.
Yeah, when you take off the Ghostbuster trap, this thing is small. We have accidentally made way more room than we thought because that is a very big car, but it is also a very small car compared to the 4-rotor being a full-size vehicle. So now we're going to move the precious engine over to the chassis that it will ultimately go into.
If this works, I think I have the perfect.
Let's see if this idea works. Oh, you did it. And that's a
Beast!
that.
Look at that.
That's it. That is it. That's how the engine actually sits in the car too. So we've got it in this spot for right now, and what I'm hoping for is that we can do cool thumbnails. It makes more sense, it's cleaner. So if the camera is over here, we'll do some of the cool shots of like, okay, this engine is blah, 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 and then the car's in the background, nice and clean. The absolute problem with lifts is that they cut up a car in the shot. It just does not look as pretty to me. Thankfully, for this set of work that we have to do to the 4-rotor, we don't need the lift. This should be kind of iconic, reminiscent of how this car looked originally long before we turned to a professional shop and have a lift. are now done 3D scanning this car over and over for this phase. We got some secrets coming up, but it's finally time to take the blue tape off